Welcome back, everyone. Last time we conquered Voodoo Village, which was lacking in voodoo or references to voodoo in general. This time we're headed to the right, which has a lone axe-throwing skeleton for us. But by themselves, those guys are no issue. We also get to collect a bunch more money on the way, which is always fine with me. This next level, though, is the one in the swamp that I have the most trouble with. I think after much practice I have it down to a science, but we'll see. Either way, I think it's the most entertaining level in this world regardless. As this level starts, we can see we are surrounded by tar. The tar is not fatal, at least not at first. So we shouldn't be afraid of jumping into it. We do want that extra life that's hanging over the skull, though. So after we deal with the zombie, we're gonna go jump and get that. After we jump on the skull, it sinks, so we do have to deal with the tar directly. We move very slowly in the tar, and if we jump too much or stand still, we will sink down and die. As long as we keep moving, we're fine. There are times where we'll have to deal with enemies in the tar pits. The best idea then is to do a jumping downward stab at them, so that way we can simultaneously enter the tar pit and push them back. That way we're not caught at a disadvantage. That item wheel back there had a new shield for us with more hits. However, if we're very patient and wait a long time, we'll get an upgrade for free later. Those item wheels, by the way, are called the Wheel of Prizes, which makes it sound like there's some element of randomness to it, but it's not. The items are always the same. This first area is basically built around the idea that you would have difficulty fighting zombies inside the swamp, inside the tar. But really, it's not that bad. Especially with our new longer sword. We don't want that invincibility armor yet, because we gotta come in here and collect our goodies. Then we can go get our armor and run forward. It's not like it'll be super useful to us. But, you know, taking out a couple of enemies without worry is better than taking out no enemies. I should also mention that while we're wearing the gold armor, our movement is not inhibited by the tar. We move at normal speed, but we still can't jump, and it's still possible to sink to our death. This large area right here is what I remember most about the level. Not terribly hard to navigate. There are only certain areas you can get back up on the platforms from if you fall down into the tar. Because, you know, we can't jump. So we have to find a slope. There's some kind of mask power-up hovering over this tar pit, and we really want that. That's going to be so insanely useful very, very shortly. Maybe not in this level, but still, very shortly. This next jump is always hard. Very difficult to avoid getting hit by this particular skeleton. Here's another switch. We haven't seen one of these since the first world, but we need to remember what they look like. Otherwise, there will be levels that we just can't navigate through. So never forget what those look like. We missed the mass power, but we need to go back to get it. Maybe need is a strong word, but you're going to see how insanely useful this thing is very shortly. I won't spoil its power for you. There's a diamond over here in the tower, and of course we're going to get the diamond. It is guarded by a single zombie, but with our fire sword, that's no problem. We do have to go and find a slope in order to get back up. And then we're going to jump into the extra area. Where we're headed, there's an extra life and a whole ton of money, and the only opposition is an enemy spawner and a plant. So there's no reason not to come up here. The extra life is actually really easy to grab without issue. That's a whole 16 extra lives. I promise I'm making the game look way easier than it is. Thankfully that chest wasn't a mimic, that would have been very upsetting. Instead it gave us a ton of cash. And we are so greedy, we need all the cash. The next few bits have some difficult sections for us. Not right here, this is just a single zombie. But up ahead there's an axe-throwing enemy, but he's protected by a stump we have to jump over and a skeleton. So we're gonna hide behind the stump real quick. That way his axe won't hit us. Well, we got punched, but at least the axe didn't hit us. And we can take him out from a distance. And up here, oh, after we get rid of this skeleton, there's a wizard in a chest, who you might remember from the first world. Now we can either shoot him or throw our shield at him. Oh, we're sinking, hold on. We can either shoot that wizard or throw our shield at him when we get back up there. But I found a better way to deal with him that doesn't risk us as much. It does involve taking a blow, though. Granted, the blow doesn't hurt us, but it's not something most people would think of. We're going to intentionally get transformed into either a baby or old Maximo. And then we're going to jump off the platform. Now that the wizard has transformed us, he will vanish. The wizard only disappears either after he's been killed or after he transforms you. After he transforms you a single time, he just, poof, goes away. So this means we've gotten rid of the wizard without actually having to destroy him. We would have gotten a 1-up if we did manage to defeat him, but really, we're fine on those for now. By the way, these checkpoints are actually patches of holy ground. That's why they're so grassy and nice, because Akili was incapable of corrupting them. In this next room, there's some minor platforming that leads us to a key that we don't need. We're gonna jump over there real quick anyway, just to show you what it's like. There's also a zombie in the tar, but we can deal with him by double jumping and doing a downward stab. Or we could have, but only our shockwave hit him. As has already been discussed, since we have 9 keys, we cannot pick up any more, which means this key is useless to us. When we open this next chest, you'll be able to see what the mask power-up is useful for. Inside this chest is armor, but instead of turning gold, the mask turns us into, well, death. Not the death that we know, but perhaps a subordinate. In this form, even touching an enemy instantly kills them. The gold armor just made us invincible. But being able to kill enemies by touching them means that any platforming challenges are now rudimentary. Boom. The mask power-up basically ensures that the only thing you have to worry about for the next 20 seconds is jumping. No enemies on the platforms in front of you, no enemies around you, no ghosts, just jumping. Oh my god, yes. We got a new ability that's fairly common to the swamp, which is a 4th set of armor. You can see now we have 4 tiny health bars instead of 3. And now we're capable of holding 4 armors until we die and lose the ability. That's a big deal. This doesn't ensure our safety for the rest of the worlds, but for the rest of the swamp, we're set, basically. There's nothing we have to worry about unless we really, really goof up. In this last room, I prefer the stab and run strategy. If we get hit a couple of times, though, it's no... Oh, yeah. Never mind my strategy. Every time we pick up that extra armor ability, it counts as adding extra armor to our life bar, which means it's also capable of triggering our invincibility. That extra armor power-up doesn't really spawn in any of the other worlds, but as long as we don't die, we'll get to keep it.